Okay, are we live? Welcome to the Times Union Facebook Live. This is the Food Life Live. It's the second in a series of 5 sessions. And after my unveiling last week, by the way, I should say, my name is Susie Davidson Powell. I'm the dining critic for the Times Union. And after my unveiling last week, after 6 years of being the dining critic, I am thrilled to be hosting these events and having a chance to talk to some area personalities, restaurant owners, people in the hospitality industry. Today's topic is, well, we called it Love in the Time of COVID-19, since during the shutdown, really we haven't been able to get out, restaurants have been closed, all of our means of socializing have been pretty much removed. But really we're going to be talking about this summer as the summer of takeout, and whether or not you have a long-term partner or whether you have been maybe swiping right, we're going to help you figure out how you can take that takeout and make it a little more vibey, a little more interesting. And I'm really thrilled to introduce my 2 guests today. I'm going to be speaking with DJ Trumastr Trumastr, who we pretty much all know in this area as DJ Trumastr. So I don't know if he's live just yet. Well, that's Martin. Do we have Trumastr on?
I'm here.
You're here. There he is. There's Trumastr. Hi.
I was sharing.
You're sharing. Okay, so I'm going to be talking with Trumastr, and I'm also going to be talking with Martin McKeon, who is a florist, stylist, event planner, co-owner of Stone Fox Farm in Hudson. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I can't wait for us to get chatting. This is kind of fun. I have to say, this is like, having 2 friends who, have different expertise, and we can all weigh in on this very important issue of takeout. So first of all, to talk to you, Trumastr. First of all, really and truly, I think that photo that you posted on Instagram, and I think we can show it, right, there it is. This photo prompted pretty much a piece that I wrote a few weeks ago. This piece was called The Future, or the Imminent Future of the Dinner Date. And I had seen this picture on Instagram in my regular feed. And as you can see, there's this very nice table setting. We've got a chilled bottle of rosé. We have the full, place setting. And then where the date should be, we have a tripod and an iPad. And this just really struck me as a visual. It looked so cozy. It looked intimate. It looked exactly like a date, for one. And so first of all, Trumastr, I want to sort of put you on the spot. I know this is not a brand new thing for you. You have been doing, maybe you're now the architect of the digital date night, but can you tell me about the inspiration behind this and why you went to such trouble to set that scene?
Well, first of all, there was a lot that went into it. First of all, my partner, Andrea, she lives in White Plains. So we already have a long distance relationship. And after coming home, I was in Europe for part of March. After coming home, COVID really kicked in live as far as, social distancing and 14-day quarantines and all these different adjustments that needed to be made by everyone and recommended and, suggested and all of that. So what she and I were doing is we were already visiting each other maybe every weekend, because I normally DJ on, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday I would go down and spend a couple of days with her. But with the pandemic and her father also has, he has, sensitive health issues. We decided to space that out and do it, visit each other once every 2 weeks. This way we kind of institutionalized our own quarantine. And then it dawned on me that even when we were visiting each other, we weren't doing the things that we were doing when we were seeing each other once a week. i.e. going out on a date, going to the flicks, sitting on a patio at a nice restaurant. She has a daughter, taking her someplace like a theme park or going camping, like all the stuff that we would do together as a collective, we just weren't able to do. Therefore, I said, hey, let's have a virtual date night. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, I'll get dressed up. You get dressed up. We'll order food. We'll it's like we're going out, but from home. And she was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Let's do it. That sounds awesome. And then, one thing led to another. And I'm not the best person at ordering and grub hubbing and all. I don't really do that. I'm much better at calling, going and waiting and coming home. And I asked her if she would order my food for me because she's accustomed to, all of the applications and whatnot. I mean, I've gotten better, but that was really the first time. And she ordered my food for me and she ordered her food for herself.
That's that's a wonderfully, that's an element of connectivity. You know each other well. She's able to order for you, but that's sort of, taking the time, and that feels quite intimate, doesn't it? To order somebody else's food. And there you are in two different towns or cities, both of you dressed to the nines. And let's not forget, both you and Martin for that matter, but both of you are pretty stylish dressers. And if anybody looks you up on Instagram, I know you've got some wonderful, wonderful photos of you in full 3-piece suit. And when you were over in London, you were telling me you were in Barker getting your brogues. And I know that fashion's important to you. So you were fully kind of looking the part, setting the scene and creating this whole vibe. And I'm actually just going to jump in and kind of cut this section in half because
sure.
I should have, and I'll do it now. it's happy hour, right? We build this as a happy hour. Hopefully the people at home, maybe have a drink because it's 4:00. Maybe happy hour is 5:00, but let's just call it happy hour. And so I want to ask each of you what you're drinking, and then I'm going to have Martin quickly make us a cocktail, and then I'm going to jump back to you, actually, Trumastr. So first of all, what do you have in hand there, Trumastr?
All right. So I have all the elements.
Okay. You can make yours when Martin is making
Exactly. That's exactly what I plan on doing. So I'm going to quickly explain what I'm going to do, and then Martin, you take over. Okay. So I got my glass from Albany Distilling. Got my little rocks glass. All right, there it is. Kaboom. Bam, bam, bam. All right. I've got a little simple syrup that I made right over here. And I just grounded and brewed some Tandem Ethiopian, which I purchased at Peck's Grocery.
Yes, in Troy.
Huh? Say that again?
In Troy.
In Troy, Albany, New York. Troy, New York. And then I have some mint that I'm going to muddle. I'm going to throw that down there in the bottom. This mint is actually from the Soulfire Farm. So please follow Soulfire Farm. They are amazing, Black-owned farm just outside of Grafton. Beautiful family, educators, revolutionary, and just phenomenal. And then lastly, I'm going to top it off with some Albany Distilling orange vodka. And I've got a couple of ice cubes, some round ice cubes I got here.
Oh, very nice. I would have had round ice cubes too, but my freezer broke down because, why not? Why not defrost in the middle of summer?
That's my shtick, and I'm sticking to it. All right, you go.
I love it, but let's just say, so that's hyper local. We've got Albany Distilling Vodka, Soulfire Farms. They're out in Stephentown, I think, right? Leah Penniman.
Yeah.
And then you have your locally bought Tandem brewing.
Yeah, they're roasted in Portland, but they're sold locally in Troy. Yeah. Superb.
Okay, and for me, I have, it was going to be a watermelon martini, but actually it ended up being just a tequila cocktail. It's fresh watermelon. One hack is that if you just chop up your watermelon, put it in a plastic bag, Ziploc bag, put it in the fridge overnight, and it basically does all the work for you. It just leaches out all its yummy juices. Add some tequila, some lime juice, some fresh mint that I am growing. Anyone can grow. And so that's my cocktail. But nice little segue. Martin, we're going to be talking a lot more about how to make it special. But before we get into that, can you please tell us what's the benefit of maybe thinking of a drink that you can have as a batch cocktail, and what would you suggest?
Well, that's why I feel mine's kind of lame. I'm not so hyper local, because I was going more for like, you know, if you're going to go out, say, to it for a picnic, or you're going to go even on your front porch, it might be hard to kind of like, you know, be too fancy. So I thought, you know, what's something you can do if, say, you know, you've gone for takeout and the place you're going to doesn't have cocktails, which most places do, which is amazing. But if they don't, this is something quick and kind of easy and I think delicious. So basically what it is, it's a sparkling wine. I'm making it as I go because I'm going to be, of course, drinking this throughout.
And Trumastr is making his as he goes, so it's perfect.
Yeah. I do have something slightly local. I don't feel like such a lame-o, because part of what I'm doing is I'm going to infuse the lemonade with elderflowers, since they're actually in bloom right now. So these are from my backyard, so that's very local. The carbon footprint on these is like 5 feet, my feet walking outside. So put those in there.
So that's just lemonade and cava or prosecco, whatever you have.
And you know, I did this last week. We got some fresh strawberries from the farmer's market. I just kind of muddled some strawberries, sliced them up, and made it strawberry lemonade. So I'm in the thing where I don't like to have a very heavy drink if I have to drive somewhere. So if I'm driving to, say, a park, or I'm driving to, you know, a lake somewhere, I don't want to be too wrecked or wrecked at all, let's say. So I mean, 1 or, you know, 2 I think is my limit. So I'm pretty much looking for more of like a low alcohol cocktail if I'm doing that. Where if I'm hosting people on my porch, I might have more of like a cocktail, traditional, you know, with liquor in it, rather than just kind of like a you know, wine based. So I'm gonna have a little. This probably needs a few more minutes to infuse, but I'm very thirsty, so.
What would you say, just by putting those flowers? I know you've given this to me before when you had.
Yeah. I mean, you could also make a simple syrup out of them. That's also something if you have more time and didn't want to just, but I think it looks very pretty, you know, when you kind of stir it up and they're in the bottom of the thing, and then you see the ice, but you know, they're all over the place. You can see them on the side of the road, elderberries and elderflowers. So this is the time of the year where they're around. So I would say if you could find them, use them, but you don't have to use them. Anything to, you know, just make it a little more special. Like I was saying, if you're going on a first date with somebody, I would say something you might want to do is kind of not stalk their account on social media, but you know, if you see, you know, a girl you're going to date and she has a picture of her with like a daiquiri saying best drink ever, she's probably not going to want to have like, you know, a glass of Maker's Mark. So you're going to have to kind of do a little digging to know, because if you're going to show up with a batch of cocktails, they might be like, that's not what I like. Same with the guy. You're not going to give him a pina colada if he's a big craft brew guy, you know? So you have to kind of maybe think a little bit about what you want to give them.
Right.
I also thought maybe this reminds me of, it's almost like we're going back to like a more romantic time where these things are more like, you have to put more thought into it. You just can't run and grab some takeout or just go to pick a restaurant. Picking a nice restaurant isn't enough these days. That's right. You can't have the experience. So I think, you know, that's one thing that's important.
Well, that's a great point, because what we have been looking at, and of course we're in phase 3 of the reopening, restaurants have been able to start having people either on their patios or in parking lot seating out, or some roads are being shut down, which is great. But now in phase 3, people can go back inside and eat. But a lot of people are really not comfortable with that yet. And, you know, when I said in the beginning that this is turning out to be, or looks as if it's going to be the summer of takeout, you've got people who've either, for reasons that they cannot risk exposure, being inside, even with all of the other protocols in place, you know, they've got servers with masks or plexiglass screens, you know, all of the different reasons that people might still be concerned. And actually, I did a poll on my Instagram stories, and I found it was pretty much a 20-80 split. 20 were willing to go back to patios. 80% was still not willing to even entertain that. And so I think that's pretty telling. You know, this is a slow reopening. So whether or not you have a long-term partner, as with Trumastr and his, girlfriend who's down in White Plains, or whether or not perhaps throughout the shutdown you've been still chatting with people, lots of people are making the connections. And as you said, there's this kind of almost like a courtship, right, that's happening with people getting to know people and having first dates via Zoom. But now they're saying, okay, I want to meet you in real life. Maybe we'll go for a socially distanced walk in the park, or maybe we'll, meet 6 feet apart in the line in Whole Foods. I do know some people who have done this. So now I'm going to jump back to you, Trumastr. So when we're talking about inside, we're thinking about creating that vibe. Now, when you really and truly, when I think about takeout, that's the night that I'm not cooking. I'm probably not, dressed up. I might be in my sweatpants. I'm ordering Chinese and I'm eating it out of the box. This is not what we're talking about.
Right.
We are talking about taking that takeout for safety reasons, not dining out reasons, and bringing it home or having it delivered. And boom, what do? How are we going to recreate that vibe? Especially since even if you do go to a restaurant right now, it doesn't feel the same. You're not getting that same kind of, ambiance. And so how do you kind of conjure that up?
Right. And that was actually all part of the initial plan anyway. I mean, because we already are in a long distance relationship and we're not able to go on dates, I really wanted to I was like, let's do something cool. Like, let's spice it up even further. So she has a house where there's a downstairs studio that when family come to visit, that's normally where they'll stay, because it's, there's a little bit more room. And the rest of, her and her dad and her daughter are in the upper part of the house. Okay. So she opened up that area and set up a nice table and ordered her food, got, put on a really pretty dress and, did her makeup and her hair, because we're, like you said, we're sweatpants, we're watching TV, sometimes we'll watch TV together, but from far away or whatever, it's suggesting shows to each other. But this night, make it special. Let's go all out. I grabbed a nice suit, my black and white Bass loafers. Nice. I rocked them with some peds so you could see my ankles. You know what I mean? Had my little
you went really Victorian then. You were showing off your ankles.
Yeah, ankles. Had my tapered slacks. I mean, yeah, I did the thing. Little pocket square, little boutonniere. I shaved. So it was a thing. And then at the end, which my favorite part, there's two things I forgot to mention, but I'm going to say it now, and they're like all over the place. But at the end, I did like a little dance for her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just so she could like really experience like the whole outfit. And she was like faking, throwing money at me. It was awesome. We had a little vibe. And that was towards the end. The really great thing about the experience to me was, sure, she ordered food for me because she's experienced in ordering food. Like, she knows how to do that. She does it more frequently than I do. And I even told her the kind of food I wanted and what I wanted.
So where did you order from for you?
I ordered from Curry Leaf. I had SAG. I had chana masala, pakora, some garlic naan, like all like the comfort, like heavy, dense matter, like pass out afterwards. Just, yeah. All right.
She surprised you, right? She surprised you with something else?
This was it. This was like, this is what took it over the top, because she was like, go back downstairs, all text, go back downstairs. You have another order. And I'm like, more in my head. I'm like, more Indian, you know? I don't know. And I go downstairs and and I can't, oh my goodness, why am I blanking on the name? But it's the cookie company.
Nocturnal Cookies.
Thank you. Nocturnal, there's an order of Nocturnal Cookies. I'm like, what? Who? And I see this guy standing out there, and actually, I couldn't even find him. She gave me his number, and he's walking around the block, because I live in like downtown Albany, like Broadway area, and he can't find my door. So he finally, you know, we communicate with each other, we get on the phone, and I direct him to my, and he gets there, and he hands me this bag, this box bag, and it's Nocturnal Cookies. And I was like, holy cow. And this is my first time, and I've heard about it, and I heard they're great, but this is my first time getting it, experiencing it, and it was totally worth it. And it was a huge surprise, and I gave her all the kudos and all the points, because I was like, yo.
My understanding is that Nocturnal Cookies, and I don't know this definitively, but my understanding is they specialize, as in the name, with sort of nighttime deliveries of cookies and ice cream. So, you know, 10 o'clock at night, and you think, God, I want cookies. I think, are they warm? I don't know, but.
Yes, they were warm.
Warm, right? So
Yeah.
the idea that they're baking them and delivering them, that's a really, I was gonna say it's a sweet touch, but it literally is a sweet touch.
It really was.
So that's excellent. Now, you're a DJ. That's
Yep.
how we best know you. I know you're multifaceted, and you've done all sorts of collaborations, and you know, we could talk about the feng shui setup of your apartment, but we won't get there. I know you have recently done a collaboration with Albany Center Galleries, and I know you've been live streaming on Twitch, so people
Yep.
can easily find your curated sets.
Yep.
But what would you suggest for people who are just like, oh, I should put on some music? I mean, would you suggest that they try and create, you know, I'm going to show my age here, like the equivalent of a mixtape?
Yep. For me, it's all about being able to have a conversation and having the background be enjoyable. So in this particular case, I went with on that night, to be specific to even more specific to your question, on that night, I went with a jazz station that was pretty much some standards. It was, you know, it was Coltrane, it was Miles, it was Bird. And the thing about having that style, Mingus, the thing about having that style of music playing is that there aren't any lyrics to interrupt our conversation.
Okay.
It's great background music, very soulful, very chill, you know, very intellectual, you know, because great things are happening in that music, but not to the point where it's interrupting what's going on between, you know, what's the most important thing.
So was your music the music for the both of you?
Yes, you could hear it. She could hear the music. Yeah, when we stream, you know, FaceTime each other, she can hear the music or the TV pretty clear. It's not, you know, it's not jarring. It's not like when you're having a phone call conversation and the music phases and does all that weird stuff.
And that's why we're having to jump around a bit here today, because I mean, normally we would be chatting a little bit more, but I have to kind of move between you and Martin. So
of course.
Talking. So, I mean, this is exactly it, right? You had the lighting. I saw you had that little lamp spilling the light. And then obviously the music and the fact that you dressed up. So this is, there's the light. There it is right there. Exhibit A. So now I'm going to just tell you, I have had people commenting on my Instagram feed a lot lately, because during this time, I have never stopped doing takeout. You know, I had to shift my coverage instead of doing restaurant reviews. Obviously, we were talking about the business pivots of all of these restaurants. You know, the restaurant industry was just decimated, and, you know, how the survival plans involved takeout, delivery, cocktails to go. But as we're all dealing with the necessary safety protocols, and people were like, well, aren't you worried about takeout? And, you know, what we know is that basically COVID-19 is not transferred in food. And then last time I was on this call, people were asking, or somebody asked, what about uncooked food like salads? So obviously they have to be very carefully washed, and the person has to be masked, and you wouldn't want them coughing on your food, but that's routine for any restaurant, right? you don't want them coughing on your food. So one of the things that I wanted to mention before I get into talking to Martin, you kind of covered the indoor digital date night, and Martin's going to talk a little bit more about, setting the outdoor scene. It could be at home, it could be in your backyard, or like we're saying, if people are wanting to meet up with somebody for the first time in real life, go on that date, because even now the bars are not open. You can't stand and mingle at the bar, all of the ways that we might have sort of just met people or casually gone to have a drink. I know it is reopening, but not everyone's comfortable. So I wanted to mention that obviously you have to take pretty serious care with the packaging, because the idea of getting your food and then just touching it and then eating it and licking your fingers, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities of transferring. If there is any contamination, let's hope there's not. So I was just going to say that, I mean, anything like these kinds of dishes, these are like $2 Target dishes. I'm a big fan of having portable, good containers that you can take to the park. So this is a bit old fashioned, but this kind of picnic basket, look how happy I look with that, with the cutlery in it. The number of times I've taken this to SPAC or to Tanglewood. And actually, if I was going to Tanglewood, I might be showing up with a candelabra as well. For real, when you show up with a candelabra, people know that you mean business, let me tell you.
Clearly.
They do. They know. At that point, they're like, oh. And that's when you break out the really good food. At least you don't have to now sort of, be preparing everything, because so many restaurants are offering these sort of family meals to go. You can be getting from Toro Cantina, you can get this wonderful taco kit that comes broken down into all of its parts. But I firmly believe you take it out of all of the packaging. First, you wipe the packaging. Your new friend is I'm not advertising this, but antibacterial wipes. You wipe down the packaging. You are going to take it out of said packaging and put it on the plates, and even, use little dishes for condiment. It doesn't have to just be bottles of ketchup and, you want to kind of make it pretty and make it nice. Mm-hmm. So my point about the safety of it is transfer it, because you're A, making it far more appealing, but B, you really do have to take that safety component seriously. And even if you're sitting in any distance way, like even if you're having a backyard barbecue, maybe with, you can get from 677 Prime or from that's in Albany, or Radici Kitchen in Glens Falls. These are places that are offering meals with all of the components that you can cook. So it might come with all of the sides, but they're putting it out with, something, the meat or the marinated shrimp that you're going to put on the grill. But again, at that point, you're going to have more of your home-based stuff. So Martin and lads, you probably want to have a sip of your respective drinks. Did you finish making?
I have been. I've been drinking the whole time.
I was waiting. I thought we were going to toast.
We were going to toast, but
I thought we were going to toast.
I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Here.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to everybody watching. Cheers. Okay. So now I can have some of this. And Martin, what would you propose if, and I'll give you two scenarios. One, you're going to set something up at home because, well, you live at home with your husband. So we've been doing a lot. Yeah. And secondly, if you were, whether it was outside at your home or maybe at the local park for meeting up with somebody that you didn't know so well, how would you go and set that scene?
Well, for us, we were everybody else. We were in lockdown, and as the science became different, and they were saying it's a lot harder to catch it outside. If you're 6 feet away. So we kind of around, I think it was Cinco de Mayo was the first time we actually had people over our house, but I still didn't want people inside. So I thought, we have a front porch. I'm going to set up the front porch to be like dinner, but I didn't want it to just be like, folding chairs and, paper plates. So I actually brought my furniture from inside the house outside. So I had like my dining room chairs, like tables, and I've left a lot of it out there. It's actually almost like an extra room in the house. We never used our front porch because partly it's a little noisy. It's not that private, but I feel like now I like that. Like, I want to see people. I want to see like activity after being held up in my house like a hermit for a few months. It's nice to see the world is going on and then people are out there. So I think that, you know, for us, I wanted to make it look special. So I did a lot of like, I clip a lot of flowers. As you can see here, I love plants and flowers, and, you know, candles, like you mentioned, just something to make it a little more than just it's paper plates and takeout, which, I mean, seeing your friends and family is always amazing. But I also feel you want them to A, be comfortable, and B, realize you've made a little effort for them. You know, it's always nice for them to think, oh, thank you. Like you didn't just like give me a folding chair and a plastic spork. You know, I'm eating on real plates and I have a nice knife. And, you know, one of my friends had all these dishes and I'm like, what else am I doing? I don't mind doing dishes. Like, I don't need to like worry about doing dishes these days. I have plenty of time on my hands, you know? So I think that's as well, because I had time to think about it, time to plan. You know, I had hours to like get it ready. So I think if they showed up and all I gave them with paper plates, they'd be like, what were you doing all day? Like, and that translates.
It judges you like this, I see. Martin, go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I wanted to let you know that a comment came in a little while ago, and I should just tell you, it's from Jessica Marshall, who says, I buy elderflower infused tonic water. Ooh. Oh yes, I do too. That's fever tree, right? But I never thought to infuse my own. And I think
so easy.
Some of these things are very simple. And, you know, I know that not everybody has a beautiful mini farm like you do.
You don't?
With, you know, fruit trees and an entire spread of, you know, I mean, I have some stuff growing too, but not like you. Yeah. So what would you say would be equally simple? You know, obviously we did mention that people can get cocktails to go, but you, I think, had some other sort of herb-based,
definitely.
cocktails.
I have some here. This is purple basil, and I think it's one of the most beautiful herbs out there. Oh, this can be used in the place of green basil in any cocktail, like a basil gimlet or anywhere where you use regular basil. And, you know, I feel like people are afraid to use their own herbs and things. I have so many friends who grow these herb gardens and then they just rot. It's like, oh, I didn't want to cook, or, you know, I made rosemary chicken once. I'm like, well, you can make drinks out of these things. You can, you know, even just foraging on your backyard, there's so many different things, even your neighborhood. I mean, just don't poison yourself. I mean, get a book. Don't be silly and just grab a random mushroom and pop it in your mouth. There's something to be said about a little knowledge. But I mean, your herb garden, you've grown it yourself. You know that those are obviously safe to eat. So definitely, you know, do a little, you know, there's plenty of time now. Go, you know, quickly look at, you know, different herb cocktails to make. Or, you know, if you like a certain food, like, oh, I really, like I said, rosemary chicken. Say, oh, maybe there's a drink where you can incorporate rosemary into it, you know? So just, you know, think about that kind of stuff.
And I mean, you can also use, you know, all sorts of, you know, herbs to infuse your drinks. I mean,
oh yeah,
you know, I'm sticking. I know that you have made a lot of chili-based vodka.
Oh yeah.
Fresh juniper berry.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jalapeno vodka lemonade. I think I'm a big lemonade fan in the summer. You know, just get a bottle of vodka, get some jalapenos from the store, put them in there, let them sit for a while, and you got a nice spicy vodka. It's not hard. You don't have to buy the store-bought version. This way you can control also the heat, you know, flavor. If you don't want too much, take it out sooner. If you want more, leave it in longer. It's your own
powerful, doesn't it? It's pretty strong.
Oh
like,
yeah.
This one. This is, I don't know if you can actually see it here. I'll do it like that. There you go. It's actually full of cranberries. This is one that I made. I think I made it around Christmas. And so it's really sat for a long time. But this is vodka with cranberries, and it gets very sweet. It doesn't have any sugar in it, but and so I actually like this poured over ice cream. So I think if I were taking somebody out to the park, or, you know, if we stopped and got ice cream, if we were maybe we were just doing dessert, maybe our gathering, you know, was a dessert date, I might bring that in a miniature bottle and then pour that on everybody's ice cream. And that's a really simple, nice touch, you know, to make it feel a little bit more
Ah, she's so thoughtful.
Oh, she is. She showed up with her own infused vodka.
I think that's the theme is like, you have, if someone wants something, you're thinking about them, you put some effort in. It's not just like, I grab some takeout. It's like, you know, just you making that, you know, like coffee drink. Like if someone gave me that, I think, wow, the thought put into that, like to get the coffee from here, the vodka from there. Yeah. It's just amazing that someone cares enough about me to do all that. That's what it said. It's like a big hug in a glass, you know.
That's Trumastr all over. He's just a big hug in a glass.
Thank you. That reminds me of that. Ken Jacoby introduced me to Tequila scotch. And the reason why I'm such a fan of this particular scotch is because he told me the story of where it came from and how the barrels are smoked from the seaweed and the sand along the coast, and that's all worked into the barrel. And the way he presented it to me, and then he put the glass in front of me, he said, now smell it. And of course he tells me this, and now I'm visualizing like this island from Game of Thrones, you know, and now it's my favorite scotch because that thought and that story that's attached to it is now like, is now mentally imprinted. So, you know, I always have a bottle of that in my house.
Well, and I should add to that my drink that I told you was going to be a martini, but ended up being a tequila cocktail. This is made with one with life, which is the acronym is OWL, tequila, which is actually a woman-owned, woman-run tequila company out of Saratoga Springs. Wow. Not that they make the tequila in Saratoga, they make it in Mexico, but she distributes all over. And, you know, again, this is a local company, women-run, and absolutely delicious. And you will find One with Life tequila in a lot of different restaurants locally. So you can always request it. But I would say that at this point, she pretty much has managed to get into most of the area restaurants. And again, it's nice knowing it has that local connection, just like the Albany Distilling vodka.
Correct. Yeah, and now I'll look for it. And now I'll look for OWL.
You'll look for it one without, it says OWL on it. It's got the logo is a picture of an owl. Okay, so I'm going to blind you with some science here. Some stats. So actually, back when I wrote that piece for the Times Union, the future of the dinner date, and obviously things hadn't progressed as much as they have now, although Cuomo is considering whether or not dining is going to in fact open inside in New York City. We're seeing in some states, obviously, that they're rolling back bars opening. And so we're kind of on that. But for the singles, for people who were trying to date, or maybe they weren't trying to date and just staying put, here are some stats for you. On Sunday, March 28th, Tinder reported 3 billion swipes. Bumble reported 84% increase in video calls worldwide in March. Hinge reported a 30% increase in membership worldwide, and OkCupid video calls quadrupled. Wow. I think just as much as we're saying that takeout is obviously the trend that's going to continue, and hopefully it's going to help sustain these restaurants, it's super important to support our local restaurants because they are our community. But when you are seeing these kinds of figures, people at home, I mean, we were all hopping onto Zoom calls and chatting and having happy hour, or, you know, we were all sort of connecting this way. But would you think at this point that, you know, what we've seen with the start of summer, people are rushing out onto the beaches and rushing out into the parks and trying to sort of get out into the open spaces? What would you say for each of you? I'll have Martin go first. Would be your ideal scenario or recommended scenario for how to safely meet up and have this kind of picnic date or takeout date?
I definitely would think outside for sure. I mean, you don't want to meet in a bar, for me, in a space. Preferably on a windy day, so it all gets blown away, but you can't control that. A nice big blanket, so you can sit, a few feet away. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, I just think that as long as you keep your distance at first and just make sure that, you're in a well-ventilated space. But I mean, and again, like, do your research. Make this person feel a little special. Like, try to get some kind of food they like. If you know that they're vegetarian, don't go to a barbecue place. Don't go to like a steakhouse. Like, don't get takeout. You have to kind of do a little bit of something. Right. And then, flowers are always nice. Candles. Well, if it's windy, maybe a flameless candle, like a battery powered kind.
You take it all with you. Take all of these elements that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Make it nice. Now, Trumastr, you have been, people can find you not only on Twitch, which I know has been awesome for us to be able to just be streaming your curated sessions. You like to, this is not just, I don't know, the radio playing. You put a lot of thought into how you're curating your sets, but people can also find you at different restaurants in the area, like on patios, certainly in Saratoga, I think, right?
Yeah. So Thursday evenings from 8 to midnight, I'm up at Night Owl, Saratoga. Owl, see that again.
Yeah, they have one with life. Yeah.
And I'm also there Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons. And on those days, Thursday is a little bit more energetic. I'm kind of like a disco kind of housey vibe, up-tempo lounge, if you will. And then, but on Saturdays and Sunday afternoons, which is usually 4 to 8 or 3 to 7, something like that, I'm doing 60s, 70s, and early 80s reggae and soul.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
is that at the Thirsty Owl?
Night Owl.
Oh, Night Owl.
Night Owl's the venue. Used to be Monterey Metro, but it's still.
Yeah, I know where it is. Next door to Tattoo.
Yeah, right downstairs from Tattoo, next door to 9 Maple. They have this great patio, which they have recently added grass to, like fake AstroTurf. They've got these.
Yeah, we all want to be outside.
Yeah, and they've got these folding chairs, and they've got fire pits and Adirondack chairs, and all these palm trees, and there's Art Deco and Cubism and all kinds of different kind of paint work and Basquiat. It's really like a cool thing going on, and it's not too much. It's done tastefully. I watch people as I'm DJing walk by, and they're like, "What's this?"
Wow.
And then they get stopped in their tracks, and then they just start going in. It's a really cool spot.
Check that out.
Yeah, check that out.
We are we're coming down to the last couple of minutes, so I'm going to thank both of you so much. This was really fun. I know it was a very lighthearted piece, but I hope people will continue to support restaurants, get takeout, dress up, set the scene, make sure you plate it safely. And I just want to let people know that the next session is going to be on July the 14th, the next Food Life Live. July 14th at 4, it's called Yes Way Rosé, and I'm going to be talking with Heather Levine, who was the former co-owner of 22 2nd Street Wine in Troy, and of course Clark House Hospitality. And we'll see you then.
Thank you.